The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf.
Because there's mining workings already there, and we have immediate access to further delineation of this through surface drilling, it's something that we can expand, fairly quickly once we do get to the drilling stage.
Welcome back inside our Proactive newsroom, and joining me now is Robert Archer. He is the CEO of Pinnacle Silver and Gold. And Bob's great to see you again. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks, Steve. Happy New Year, if I can still say that.
Yeah, for sure. Happy New Year to you as well. First time we had a chance to talk to you, and it's great to have you on because the company has released news about your sampling, underground and surface sampling program, and coming back with some pretty solid numbers here. So let's remind everyone a bit about the project itself and the work that you were doing on this particular project.
Yeah, sure thing, Steve. Well, the El Potrero project is a low sulfidation epithermal gold silver project in northwestern Durango state in Mexico. It's on the Sierra Madre Trend, great mining district. We're surrounded by 4 operating mines. And this one is a past producer, but hasn't seen any production since the late 80s. And it's never been drilled because it's always been privately owned. So there's lots of opportunity here to turn this into something fairly significant. And we've had the project for less than a year actually, and just keep finding new things. And the grades are holding up, and so we just put out some new results on a couple of the veins that we've been expanding.
Yeah, so 62 underground channel samples, 9 surface samples as well, and you're seeing not only an increase in the length of what you're seeing, but also a bit better grades as well.
Yeah, I mean, this the Estrella vein that is the primary subject of the release is about 500 meters away from the main vein that was mined in the past. And even though, there's about a little over 40 meters of underground workings, just one straight at it, just at one tunnel. That's the extent of it. And so, we didn't really know what we were going to find when we went in to sample that initially. And then we've been following the vein along the surface as well. And we followed it for about 150 meters so far. And what we're finding is there's some very good grades, both in the underground sampling and on surface. And it's the grades are pretty consistent with what we're finding elsewhere on the property, but the fact that this is 500 meters away gives us a good indication of the size of the system, and how intensive it is. So it really opens things up from an exploration standpoint, and because there's mining workings already there, and we have immediate access to further delineation of this through surface drilling, it's something that we can expand, fairly quickly once we do get to the drilling stage.
Yeah, so over the next little while, you're going to continue that program of sampling and sort of set up some drill targets. Is that the idea?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can already target what we've sampled to date, but we'll continue sampling along strike. And there's still about 600 to 800 meters to go to the north before this vein looks like it might intersect the known veins. And where you do get veins coming together is usually a good spot for mineralization as well. So we'll be projecting that and trying to target that. But one of the really significant things about this Estrella vein is that it's several hundred meters higher in elevation than the known veins. And in these epithermal systems, the elevation makes a huge difference. And because they typically only extend for a few hundred meters vertically, they can be kilometers in length, but the vertical extent is somewhat limited. And the mineralogy that we're seeing at this vein is indicating that we're still quite high in the system. So we're in the upper parts of that vertical continuity, suggesting that most of the system is still preserved below us. So that really bodes well for future drilling and expanding the system.
And Bob, while we have you, I think it's obviously prudent to talk about Ladura as well. This is the other vein that you've been looking at. Tell me what's going on there.
Well, the Ladura old mine workings are part of the Dos de Mayo system, one of the three historic mines that we know of and we've been sampling. And the previous underground sampling that we did there was just on a very short stretch of underground working. It was only about 12 meters long. And what we found is that the vein is exposed along surface, and we've been sampling along surface. And so we've basically extended the strike length of that zone up to about 45 meters. And so more than triple the size, the strike extent of this in the one direction, and with a much higher grade than we had previously sampled underground. So it's these new results are really important in terms of expanding the size and the grade of the Ladura mine. So that in itself is pretty significant.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there. We still have lots more to talk about as this sampling program continues. Bob, thanks so much. Good to see you again. We'll talk soon.
Hey, thanks very much, Steve.
All right. Robert Archer, the CEO of Pinnacle Silver and Gold.
The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf. It is for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice, an offer, or a solicitation to buy or sell any securities. Viewers should conduct their own research and consult a qualified financial advisor before making investment decisions. The views expressed are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of Proactive Group Holdings, trading as Proactive Investors or its affiliates. No responsibility is accepted for any loss arising from reliance on the information presented.